guys, and welcome to our podcast, The Journey to CEO Success. I'm your co-host, Melissa Saunders, along with the Patrick Thean. He's an award-winning serial entrepreneur, a CEO coach, and a Wall Street Journal and USA Today best-selling author. His latest book, The Journey to CEO Success, is a #1 Amazon bestseller. Hi, Patrick.
Hey, Melissa, good to see you today.
Yeah, you too. And I'm also very excited to welcome our guest. He is Michael Grande, the president and CEO of Vancord, a cybersecurity and managed IT services provider based in Connecticut, serving regional, national, and even global clients. He is a co-host of the podcast Cybersound, an acclaimed information security podcast boasting over 100 episodes. Michael, thanks for joining us today.
Thank you so much for having me. It's a pleasure to be with you.
Yeah.
Yes, Michael. Hey, welcome to our show. It's such a treat to have you here on our show. I'd love for you just to start by taking a couple of minutes and share with us what Vancord does. What do you guys do over there?
Sure. And that was a great introduction, Melissa. Thank you so much. We identify ourselves as a security-enabled MSP, and in sort of tech jargon and technology services world that we live in, that means a managed services provider. So we can be an outsourced IT help desk for companies and organizations, all the way to really unique and discrete cybersecurity services that we can provide to our customer base. And we range from higher ed to manufacturing, K-12 to small business. So we've got a beautiful mix of sort of diverse clients. That we've been around for 20 years. We're celebrating our 20th anniversary this year.
Congrats.
And
congratulations, man.
Thank you so much. Yeah, we're very excited. It's been, as you have the name of this series, it's been a journey for sure to get here. But all along the way, we've learned a lot. We've changed, we've adapted. But things have been great, and it's been a wonderful journey. And I'm thankful to have great partners in this. My brother and my cousin, who founded the company, Jeff Grande and Mike Paone, they founded the business in 2005. And more recently in 2018, Jason Pufal, who is my co-host in Cybersound, he joined us to start our security services division. So it's been awesome.
Yeah, I remember, when we talked last, you have a very interesting journey. Now, our podcast is about helping CEOs have a joyful and successful journey. A lot of folks have a successful journey. Actually, I take that back. A lot of CEOs do not have a successful journey. Very high percentage of failures. So that's why this podcast is here to help them have a more successful journey. But even if you have a successful journey, it doesn't mean you have a joyful one. And that's why I'm really trying to help CEOs have a joyful life and a joyful and successful journey. So, when we last talked, you have a very interesting beginning here at the company. You weren't always a CEO. Can you share your journey of how you started there, and actually even before you came to the company, what you did? Tell us about your journey. How did you find yourself in this spot?
So I think, as with any business leader or sole proprietor or any entrepreneur, right? It's always an interesting path that gets you to where you're ultimately going to end up, and hopefully you do find joy and success in those things. So I started out. I went to college in New England. Grew up in New England, in Connecticut, and went to college. And I had no idea what exactly I wanted to focus on. But I had an uncle who was a commercial banker, and he was a mentor to me in a lot of different ways. And I always sort of aspired to be in the same sort of field as him. So I got my degree in management and finance and sort of focused on that world. And when I got out of college, immediately went into commercial banking. And I went through a very large regional bank, went through their training programs and sort of into commercial credit and derivatives and all sorts of exciting stuff. Not really, but, it was interesting to me at the time. And, it was an interesting market. From there, I moved on to a sort of smaller community bank where I really had sort of full control over the loan portfolio and shaping the future direction of the bank. And I was a younger sort of upstart person in this role. It was really exciting for me. But as we got towards the tail end of the 2000s, 2008, the market really drastically shifted. And it was a lot of uncertainty And really from a financial perspective, there was just a lot of things happening that had never had precedent before. And one of the things I found was I really enjoyed the learning process of learning. I learned more about businesses and how to run a business and the good decisions and bad decisions from business owners and principals who I was working with from a commercial credit perspective. But what I really had trouble with, quite frankly, was, we were a small business lender. And if somebody really got behind, their home was their collateral, right? We were essentially taking away people's livelihood during that crisis. And it was really a very challenging thing for me personally. And I really began to really have no joy in doing that. It really was not a joyful sort of expression of my professionalism. So without having another job, without having anything else lined up, and going through some other personal challenges at that time in my life, I gave advance about 6 months heads up, which it doesn't even exist today, but plenty of heads up that I was going to leave the job. And at the time, my brother and cousin had started this business. It was originally called the Business Network Group. A lot of network infrastructure, focus on sort of data and carrier services, and a lot of they had both come from large enterprise, and they were doing great. And the one thing I realized was I had that mix of sort of finance and management skills, and I didn't have the technical skills. And I was sort of just showing up every day, seeing where I could help. Hey, what do you need help with? Do you need help with billing? Do you need help with this or that?
So when you left your job, did you know
Yeah.
you were going to go join them? Was that
No.
no?
So we're a family, nice large Italian family. We grew up in Connecticut. There's 4 boys, and I'm the youngest of 4 boys. And of the 4 boys, 2 of them own a very large landscape construction business. And this business originally started on the 2nd floor of their headquarters in West Haven, Connecticut, a small town outside New Haven. And we were growing that. And I was just sort of showing up, trying to be helpful. I said, I don't have a job. I was in a pretty decent financial position at the time to have some time to decide what I wanted to do. And I took the opportunity to try to be helpful. How can I be helpful?
So that I want to pause you for a second, because there's a
Yeah,
really good nugget there. Like you left your job looking
yeah,
for something different to do, but you gave yourself some time to figure it out.
I
You know,
did.
a lot of folks in transition don't give themselves enough time to figure it out. They just go to the next opportunity.
Yeah,
And then the other thing I noticed about your what you said just now is you left the first job because you didn't have any joy left. You didn't like that you were taking the livelihood and homes away. I mean, it was tough because it's a financial downturn, right? So
yeah,
that's kind of what has to happen. And some of us maybe are built for that, but you were not. And you
I
did not.
wasn't.
So you didn't spend much time in a joyless job.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I,
Congratulations. That's
when
good.
you feel the pull saying to you that, this just isn't ticking the box anymore, this isn't making you
Yeah.
happy, um, you've got to move. You've got to make a decision and move on. And I could make those harder decisions, in a vacuum, but when it came to sort of these relationships I was building, it just wasn't right for me. Um, and I had the benefit. I didn't have any children at the time, so from a dependent
Yeah.
perspective, financially, I was much more flexible. And now at this stage in my life, I have 3 lovely children, a tremendous supportive wife. Definitely different pressures, and I can imagine what
Yes.
someone has to go through later in life when they have to see
Yeah.
this transition. So, I sort of just started, as I say, just showing up, right?
Just showing up, being helpful.
Just showing up and
Being
being
helpful. Yeah.
available and being helpful. And one of the best pieces of advice I ever had was sort of the saying of learning through osmosis, right? So I was just being around smart people who were doing technical things. I'm not a technical person. I am not a computer scientist. I didn't study this in school, but my brother said to me, "Hey, it would be helpful. Cisco has a tremendous training program. You need to educate yourself on the 7 layers of the network, and you need to go take these certification exams and educate yourself on these things. Oh, and by the way, it helps the business as you do that, but get familiar with it." So I started studying and taking exams, and we were sort of just building the business from a ground up perspective. And over time, we fast forwarded. I developed an inside sales channel. We cultivated great relationships with vendors, and we started to grow. And you could feel that that momentum, and realizing that, hey, there's a recurring aspect to this that we need to build into this business to really give us more value. So we built out what a recurring MSP does. So we went sort of from the integrator, reseller into MSP. And we spent some years there growing the company until maybe 2015, 2016. We just became too big. We couldn't stay on the second floor of our brother's place anymore. We had to move, and we bought a great building, business office building here in Milford, Connecticut, which is just one town over. So we're still centrally located in Connecticut, and from there it was sort of the sky's the limit, and
So
we've grown. We're up to about
At what point did you assume control and leadership
So
of the company?
during that transition, one of the biggest, I think, and I'll say challenges, but I think it was a positive challenge for the business, was deciding who needed to sit where on the bus in order for us to make progress moving forward. And one of the skill sets that my partners have that, I can touch on sometimes, right? But the combination of being highly, highly technical and being able to relate with people and talk to people and guide them from a business development and sales perspective, that's a really sort of a unicorn skill set. And I identified that they had that in spades, and I needed to sort of understand the mechanics of the business, understanding how a growing business needed HR and banking and finance arrangements and vendor relationships and building contracts and all of those things that came along with sort of back office. I really sort of took to, and understanding sort of how to motivate people and see the future of where the business needed to go. And so they focused primarily on growing the business from a revenue perspective. I focused on managing the business on a day-to-day operational basis. We have a tremendous team here. One of the things I'm so proud of, we've been in business for 20 years. Our average tenure without ownership involved is almost 10 years. So wow. If you take it sort of, even though there's some folks who come on board and leave, when you look at sort of that average, it's really speaks to the culture that we've built and the sort of atmosphere that we have here. So, I saw that period of time in 2015, 2016 as, hey, let's sort of reshape our direction and have a new mission moving forward. And so I assumed managerial responsibilities and oversight at that time. And we converted into a C corporation in 2018. And that's when we launched our security division at the same time. We did that for a few reasons. One, we wanted to reward the people that had been with us. It's something when you're a small business owner to say, oh, if something ever happens to the business, we'll take care of you. It's another thing to show people that with stock and with options and ownership, tangible ownership.
So you wanted to give everybody a stake in the business.
That's right. Yeah. And we would not be here today without their contributions and their continued contributions as being part of our team. And so, that was important for us. And so, I became CEO in title officially at that point. I think I had some made up managing partner or managing director or something I made up for myself for business cards prior to that. But, coming from the finance side of the business and moving into sort of that sort of general administrative and management role, and really now having my fingers in all aspects of it it's educational, it's motivational, it's intimidating. There's days when I feel like, oh my God, there's no chance that I can do enough to move this forward, but we do.
So what are some key breakthrough moments, and actually how did you level yourself up? Because you've had to learn. I can tell that learning is a joy for you, but how did you level yourself up and have these breakthroughs?
So reading, I read a lot. I really took to being open to saying I don't know. And when you are open to that and you don't close yourself off from your personal sort of narcissism and your ability to say, yes, I could be humble, but I could also say, I'm going to make the right decision if I have the right information and the right data behind it, but I need input from the people who are in this every day. And so I leveled up based on the strength of a team. And I would certainly not be in the position I am today without understanding and trusting sort of the process. I know we talked a little bit about football before the call, and Bill Belichick's famous line, right? Trust the process, do your job. And I think those things are really important to my individual success and our success as a company. And also not being afraid of hard work. We were raised 4 boys. We attended Catholic high school. We all went to really great colleges. My parents worked really hard. They worked from the time they were teenagers all the way through until their late 60s. Yeah. They worked every day, and it instilled in us this work ethic that we try to deliver every day here.
That's excellent.
Yeah, what a great story.
Tell me about a couple of your breakthroughs that may, how did you, like this new discovery of cybersecurity, how did you make this decision? And because, to me, all companies come to certain points where there are pivotal moments. I call them inflection points, where you have to make these decisions. How did you do that? And did you have a lot of cyber knowledge, security knowledge in order to make that leap?
I did not. And I would love to say that I read the tea leaves and I knew exactly where the market and the future direction was going to go. But the very brief sort of summary of how we came to develop this, a few of the folks. So I'm very proud. One of the things I'm most proud of with this company is that we've had a strong intern program for the last, 15 plus years, really, actually, since the company started. It wasn't as formalized, and now it's much more formalized. But we have taken kids from any background to come in at an entry level, start as an intern, maybe high school or college, postgraduate, and sort of just cut their teeth, understand the business, understand what soft skills are, understand what the technical assets that you need to develop, and work on certifications. So yes, do we value education? Absolutely. It's so formative. But at the same time, we want to give the same opportunity to someone who may not have had that chance to go to a top tier school and put themselves into a job or got certifications after they worked a full-time job to get into the industry. And so, we developed this sort of intern program, and we had a group of guys that were here who in college they were working on a cybersecurity software platform. And we were trying to support them. We were investing into this platform. At the time, there was a lot of groundswell of support about fundraising around these types of things. When we were determined a couple of things. One, we didn't really know how to fundraise correctly. Number two, we weren't software. We weren't the best investors in software. The product was tremendous, and we got up to an MVP, and we got some great funding from some different programs. But in order to really propel it and take it to another level, you need professional guidance. You need professional money investors that can come in and sponsor you and understand how to build a company. So we were a services business, essentially investing personally into this other play. Yes. We got to the point where the founders of that company, myself and our partners here, we had a meeting and we said, well, what are we good at? Well, we're really good at the cybersecurity services that are sort of built into this product set. We're really good at technology service because we built an MSP around IT help desk and network infrastructure and cloud. Can we combine these things into a viable service product where we can go out and sell those services to people that are in need of this and sort of do it in a different way? What's our differentiator going to be? And it started really from having tremendous sort of breach and incident response capabilities, which is sort of how we launch this. And now it's really come into this strategic consulting services we call VISO, pen testing. We have our own SOC. We've really developed this and then integrated all of those unique services into our general offering. So there's really not a product or service that you can get from Vancord that doesn't have some level of cybersecurity services woven into it. And I think that's what we wanted our differentiator to be.
So how did you make these decisions, though? Let's talk about how you made these decisions in your journey to get.
The first word, if you said name one word, there's trust. I trusted that the people that were around me that knew what they were doing, I trusted in their abilities. I've always felt strongly that someone with the right work ethic and this natural intelligence. Doesn't have to be book smart, but this natural intelligence, understand how to read a room, understand how to read people, understand how to get yourself out of a
emotional
tricky situation,
right?
Emotional IQ,
yeah.
Exactly. You want to surround yourself with those people, because if you're rowing in the same direction, you're going to get to your target. You're going to get to your goal. You may not know the path as you're working. Your head might be down. The mountaintop may be above you. As the rhythm system that we absolutely adore here at Vancord says, you've got your winning moves that you have to put in place, right? And as you do that, one of the key tenets that we have developed in the Think, Plan, Do, right, has been listen, because everything doesn't go to plan.
That's
You're
right.
going to have obstacles. You're going to have things that come up that you don't expect. And if you're listening and you know exactly how to react, maybe you need to pivot, maybe you need to change course, that's going to help you ultimately get to your goal. And one of the things we established here over the last year plus has been an initiative called Get Real, Get Better. And that means at any point, we have QR codes all around the office. We have an intranet site that has it. Anyone within the company that sees something from a business process perspective, a communications perspective, anything that has to do with our core business. This isn't about like, I don't like, John Doe over there in marketing. This is more about, I see something that we could do better. You can absolutely have the ability to post. And then what are your ideas to change? How would you suggest we adjust this? And we take all that information, we aggregate it, and every quarter at our quarterly planning sessions, we're looking at that information, looking at that data and saying, okay, these are the people that are working with our clients every day. They're working with our vendors. They have some great ideas. What can we do to change? So you have to be willing to change.
Yes.
It's almost, it's like a modern day, way for people to see and make recommendations, a suggestion box almost.
It's a suggestion box, but you have to make a suggestion. You just can't have a complaint. And I think that's one of the things that differentiates it, because a lot of people have to raise their hand and say, I just don't like. Well, if you don't like, what would you do differently?
What would you do differently?
Great.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's so
Great
cool.
idea.
Hey, I've watched a couple of episodes of Cybersound, and I'd love for you to tell us, you have 100 episodes. My goodness.
135.
135 episodes. And Jason, your co-host on that, correct?
Yep.
And when did you say he joined the company?
So he joined in 2018, and he was the former CISO of a large university here in New England, and most of the folks working on that software development platform, they worked with him. So we were connected through that group. Yeah. And it was just one of these things that, kismet or fate or whatever it is, he's been a tremendous addition to the team. In those
Cybersound was
years.
His idea, right? Cybersound podcast was his idea, his dream.
Yeah, he came up with it, and that's his baby. I join when I can, when he'll ask me to. But we've got great guests. We've got really interesting topics. We've got a tremendous amount of input from really highly technical, but also just down to earth people that are employees or staff in the company that want to contribute.
Yeah.
So it's been a learning process.
What do you like most? What do you like most about Cybersound?
I like hearing about a technology or a new thing. Maybe it could be legislation related to technology or cybersecurity. Maybe it could be something about development project that the state or government is taking part of to sort of help small businesses. I like learning about those things, and in that moment, sort of processing that data and then asking questions based on what I'm thinking in that sort of short term. I'm a big advocate of always being prepared. It's one of my mantras. However, I sort of like that. I like that I'm hearing something brand new I've never heard before. I've never really thought about this. What's my reaction to that, and how does this lead to a good conversation?
Yeah. Your curiosity index is very high, which is excellent. In my book, The Journey of CEO Success, the 7 practices, the first one is about being curious all the time. And the second one is about leveling up. And it appears to me that you've really, in a natural way, incorporated both of those practices into you, plus another practice of being joyful and what you do. So in your journey, I'd love to know can you recount a couple of events that really gave you a lot of joy?
Oh, well, how about joy from struggle? Coming out of COVID, we had two sort of distinct divisions of the company. It was probably actually in the middle of it. So, that 21, 22 timeframe, we had sort of an infrastructure cloud team that was delivering a lot of the basic MSP services and project services. And we had our security services team. And at that time, we still had, hybrid work. We still have a lot of hybrid work. We have employees around the country and throughout the Northeast. But, there wasn't the same sort of that joie de vivre. We didn't have that camaraderie of having regular events. We had missed our annual summertime gathering. We missed our holiday party. We had missed our kickoff meeting, which is a huge event every year for us. And so I felt organizationally we were sort of separating into sort of different groups. And I think the culture, which is an overused term for sure, but I could sense there was challenges. And one of the things we realized was at our own creation, we created sort of two disparate groups without intending it to be disparate. We just thought, hey, internally it'll be very clear. For our clients, it'll be very clear. Well, it wasn't. There was two names. There was different sort of visual representation and brands. And we worked, so we listened, right? We listened. And we worked really hard on what we called a brand merger, a brand consolidation. And that didn't just mean the marketing slicks. That meant, how are we going to run the business? Who's going to take over operational control over service delivery? How are we going to be doing these things? And I think over the course of about a year, that's where Vancord, our current branding, all of these things, the Cybersound sort of relaunch, a lot of things came out of that, which was just so important. And honestly, I won't say it saved the business, but it probably saved our perception, our internal perception of like what we were working on. It really brought a lot of joy and commonality to what we were doing. We didn't feel like we were competing against each other internally anymore. Our clients appreciated it. They liked it. And it helped us long-term set new strategic goals that we really needed coming out of a difficult time, which was a difficult time for everybody.
Yeah, that's great, man. Hey, I know Melissa always likes to ask, if you're going on a road trip somewhere, what is your favorite snack to take with you?
I do. I love that question. It's always around lunchtime that we're interviewing.
Exactly. So, well, good or bad? Well, first answer, honest answer. Growing up, my grandmother loved licorice. She got me into Good and Plenty's. My mom likes them. I like them. It was one of my most, they're a little white and sort of purple pink,
yeah, right,
hard candy coated licorice. They're good for movies. They're good for anything, good for road trips. But of course, over the last year, because I'm getting older, I've got three very young kids, 8, 5, and 2, almost 3.
Wow.
And I've got to stay on my feet. I've got to be active. And so I cut sugar out. So now I'm really into jerky. I love beef jerky, turkey jerky, you name it. I'm like a beef jerky aficionado. So the one place I've heard
bison jerky.
Bison jerky, I've never had it, but I've heard there's a place down south that you have to visit on road trips called Buc-ee's. And it's like a world-renowned road stop, pit stop, truck stop area. And they have like very unique flavors.
Yes, I just heard that. Actually, all jokes aside, I just heard that this week from a friend.
Yeah.
But he told me that the line to get in is ridiculous.
Yeah.
Yes, I heard that they have a jerky wall.
A jerky wall.
Yeah, that's awesome.
I'm all in on the jerky wall. I've got to.
You need to figure out a way to come south, man. That's a stop in itself.
That's amazing.
Absolutely. So that's my road trip. That's my road trip.
Yeah. Well, this podcast is about helping CEOs have a joyful and successful life. So my last question, which I ask all my guests, is what advice can you give our audience, which are CEOs, to have a more joyful and successful life?
It'll be a two-parter. And the first part of it is to be patient. You're going to have struggles. You're going to have challenges. It's inevitable. At no point has anyone ever just hit all winners every single time. You're going to have setbacks, but the key is to be patient and trust your process, and know that this too shall pass. Right, the good times, those too shall pass, and the bad times.
Yes.
And beyond that, sort of from a general philosophy, the thing that has really taken me far, and I hope to continue it. You talked about sort of curiosity, understanding that I may never be the master of one thing, but I can be a very strong generalist in a lot of different areas, and I could constantly be learning. And as part of that process, to surround myself with really good people who feel both emotionally and professionally that the goals that I've set forth or we've set forth as a company are their shared vision and goals. And if you do that and you trust those people, you're gonna make progress. I think one of the things I heard a quote from Bill Ackman. He's a famed hedge fund manager, and he said, in the worst of times, sometimes you just have to put your head down and make progress, because progress compounds, much like money. And while I'm not in the hedge fund world, and I'll never know what it's like to be a billionaire, I do appreciate the fact that progress compounds. I think that's a really good way to look at things. And, I hope that someone could take that little snippet, keep their head down, challenging times, good times, and keep working towards the goal.
Thank you so much, Michael. Progress compounds. Awesome.
Love that. Yeah.
Thank you. Back to you.
Yeah, thank you, Michael and Patrick. What a great conversation today, and really just reinforces the need to continuously be a learner and level up and be curious, I think, is sort of the points I got out of this. Thank you, Michael, for sharing your story. And until next time, go out there, find joy, read a book like Michael, listen to his podcast, but enjoy your journey. Until next time, bye now.
Thank you.
Thanks for having me.